And it just happens all the time. In fact, I've had the pictures that I posted on Facebook. My Facebook friends are like, your wife really looks like Meryl Streep. It's pretty funny. I never knew I had the hots for Meryl Streep, but I do now.
I get Josh Groban all the time.
Oh, yeah, you do look like Josh Groban. Yeah. Doesn't Jake look like Josh Groban?
No, Jake's young Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, you also are young Jerry Seinfeld. You're like,
who are these people?
Who are these people? Yeah. What's up with paintbrushes? You got to paint.
Paintbrushes.
Do you brush your hair too?
All right.
Okay, this was dumb banter. Sometimes we have good banter.
People say I look like Larry David.
Larry David? Oh yeah, I can see that. You need more of the curly.
Larry David mixed with Brad Pitt. That's what I get.
I see the Larry David part. Not too sure about that. Okay.
I don't get anything. I must be unique.
Yeah, you're one of a kind. Hello, everybody, and welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker.
I'm Lee White.
And I'm Will Terry, and all three of us are professional illustrators. And we've all been working for about the last 25 years. We've worked with just about every major publisher in the business. We've published over 50 books together, and we've all taught illustration at universities.
Each week we pick a new topic on the subject of illustration, and we battle it out until somebody is victorious.
That's about right.
It is. So you guys, it's actually been a hot minute since we've gotten together and recorded a podcast. So
yeah,
I know to our listeners, these come out pretty consistent every 2 weeks. But for us, we will record a bunch back to back. Like, we'll do one a week for a long time. And that gives us this buffer so we can go on vacation or we could do stuff. And so this I'd say it's a month since we last recorded it, just about a month. So I need an update on you guys. What's happened this last month? How are you guys doing?
Well, what you doing?
I'm doing great. It's weird to record these and know that they're going to drop a couple months from now. Kickstarter's over. Just had a great time with the Kickstarter and all.
Your Kickstarter ended, and you absconded with all the cash and went on a vacation, a beachside vacation, essentially.
That did look fancy, so now I understand it a little more.
I went on a honeymoon that was scheduled and planned and paid for before the Kickstarter. However, yeah, the optics were interesting, right? It was, with the virus and everything, we delayed our planned honeymoon. And anyway, we did it. It was great. And
where'd you go? You went to Florida?
Went to Sarasota area. Yeah, we stayed at the beach on
beautiful white sands,
Bradenton Beach and Siesta Key Beach. We were at all those different beaches along there.
Yeah. Okay, so how much did the Kickstarter make?
The Kickstarter went over $200,000. It was pretty amazing. And the more amazing thing to me was that we continued on Indiegogo, and so we're over 7,000 backers, and I was
total between the two, or
between the two. Yeah, I was hoping for 2,000 to 3,000 backers, and
sweet. So how much is on Indiegogo right now? How many backers?
About a little over 100.
Okay.
So we almost made it on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then how long does the Indiegogo go for?
30 days. And it's basically the strategy there was just, you do all this work to draw attention to your Kickstarter, and it doesn't cost you anything to then duplicate your campaign on Indiegogo if they accept you. And I think they accept pretty much any campaign that is fully funded, I think is their rule. Mm-hmm. So you get permission from them, and then you just transfer over, and they keep your total. So they add to what you previously funded. It's called, I always forget the name of the the campaign, that what they call it. It's like a continuing campaign or something, but it's a different word.
So it's 200,000 plus on Indiegogo.
Yeah. So if someone finds the project on Indiegogo, they see the total raise starting with the first platform and going to the second, which is a really nice thing to do, because when a project funds much higher percentage than the ask, it says a lot about the project. It says that, a lot of people are supporting this, and it gives confidence to future buyers, potential buyers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think we get a follow-up, like full episode on the Kickstarter, like after the books are delivered and everything. Do you think that?
Yeah, we should do something like that, and we could talk about all the pitfalls and the challenges in satisfying 7,000 backers, because that's we're going through some good stuff right now in logistics and trying to figure out best shipping prices and things like that. So yeah,
cool. Right on.
Very
What about
cool.
you, Lee?
I've been in paint mode and just painting a bunch of new paintings, big paintings and small paintings, and getting my process figured out. It's funny to have a really experimental process because there still has to be some order to it. And, switching from watercolor to this newer paint style, it can get away from me pretty quick. So it's been fun to kind of dive in and figure out all the techniques and what works and what doesn't work. And I've kind of moved some of those techniques over to the Inktober video. So I'm teaching the experimental ink class at SVSLearn, and it's fun. It's a different one to teach though, because like my last class, Light and Shadow, it was very definite set of rules. Here's light falling on an object, and here's how you should think about it, and here's a way to simplify it and all that. But how do you teach an experimental process? It's both fun and sort of terrifying too, because it's wide open. I mean, I don't know how each person's going to use the information I'm giving them. It's all going to be different, which is kind of exciting actually too. And then aside from that, I have been kind of brainstorming ever since we had our podcast episode of the things we really want to be working on, and what would we do if we didn't have to make a living at it, and your dream assignment basically. And I'm narrowing down the exact book that I want to write, a kid's book, and I've got it, I think, figured out for the most part. I'm kind of brainstorming it still a little bit, but it's on track. Cool.
Well, I finished my Kickstarter and delivered all the books to that, shipped everything out. I want to say there's Will got mine. If you're looking on the video, Will got the
this is on our YouTube channel if you're inclined to go over there.
Yeah.
At SVSLearn. But that sticker, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. I love that sticker.
All right. So
I'm trying to
stick it on something?
I'm trying to find a worthy place to put it.
That's sort of a backhanded compliment, because Will's acting really surprised that he likes the sticker.
I actually like the sticker.
I'm not just saying that. I actually do like it.
Hate it.
What'd you think of the book?
I haven't looked at it yet. I'm just kidding. No, it's got some really good artwork in there, Jake.
It's getting more formalized than just a sketchbook. I mean, it's like it's a whole thing, man.
I really like that you included your Inktober stuff in there. I loved it.
Yeah. With the book, these books have always been like a creative outlet for me. Just a way for me to make something that I have complete ownership of. And as my abilities to create books has advanced, I use these books a little bit for experiment, but also a little bit as like, let's use these things that I've learned and make something out of it. So changed the cover, changed some, organized the interior better. A lot of thought and effort went into it. So we shipped out 1,100 or 1,000 books, something like that. There's a handful of people that I still don't have addresses for. So we're just kind of ironing out that. There's a couple of places that the USPS doesn't ship to. So I have to go FedEx those and send those out that way. But other than that's been like probably the easiest start to finish Kickstarter I've ever done. It's Kickstarter number 4.
You got it figured out now.
Yeah. So now I'm going to like shoot myself in the foot maybe and try to do 2 in a year. Like every
Wow.
6 months, do one
Wow.
and see how that goes. So,
Now,
well,
did you take video of your minions fulfilling?
yeah. Yeah.
Did
If
you?
you look
Have
at
you shared that?
one of the latest updates on the Kickstarter, you can see that video. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you should check it out. It's fun. So the whole
okay.
family shipped the books. My wife was the one who like coordinated all that, all the shipping, and she made a video like, here's how we do it. So that's off my plate. Now it's like go time on Inktober, where this episode releases towards the end of October, but right now is like all my preparation time for it. This is when I shift out of my role as illustrator and into my role as brand manager for an online art challenge. So I've just been doing lots of phone calls and stuff like that. Oh, and I am wrapping up tomorrow the 3 Inktober tutorials that we put together, and these are 3 different. So what you do is you print out the line art, the orange line art for 3 different drawings for these 3 different tutorials. And then I teach you how to ink over the top of it. And so at the end of it, you have like a nice inked drawing. But in the process, you're also learning like the techniques. So, it's like how to do long, graceful lines, how to do short lines, how to do like scribbly texture, stuff like that. So these are some tutorials I'm really proud of, and I hope people like them.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Anyway, let's get into today's episode. Will, you want to take it away?
I would love to take it away. So today we are going to be talking about mentoring. We could even call this the mentoring show.
This is how to be mentored or how to mentor someone.
How to be mentored, how to find a mentor, how to get a mentor. I just want to start a lot of my podcast topics that I choose. I start with a letter, and this is going to be the same. I got a letter from someone who said, I'm just going to read it. It's pretty short. My name is blank, and I'm currently a student at blank in New York City. I'm a senior. I'm in my senior year, and one of the classes starting this August is a mentoring class. It's required of me to contact an illustrator who is active in the field and to seek advice from them. I've not gotten all the details yet, but as the semester progresses, our mentor has to critique and follow us along with our project as it progresses. I am registering. So he also goes on to say he's registered with SVS. He says, I know you're busy. Don't feel obligated. It says it's a serious class for my major. It doesn't involve any payment, but I want to ask early before classes started. The reason I asked you is because I'm considering book cover, book illustration. And I went back to school in my late 40s, so I'm not a traditional age student. I hope to be a working illustrator someday. And so basically that was the short of it, the ask. And it got me really thinking about the mentors that I've had. First off, it got me to think, am I going to mentor this person or not? And it's a pretty big ask, right?
It's a huge ask. If you do it for real, it's a marriage almost. I mean, it
really is. So so I've already contacted this guy and I've said, yes, I'm going to do it. In doing so, I know that I'm probably opening myself up for a lot more requests, because this podcast is, how many downloads do we get on our podcast?
Thousands.
Millions.
Millions.
We've had, we're creeping up on 1 million total downloads. So yeah.
Wow. So anyway, I thought long and hard about it, and I thought, I can't do that. I'm busy. I don't have enough time. I turn down, I get requests like this a lot, and I usually turn them down. And I don't know what it was about this one that made me think, sometimes I think in your life, you go with your gut, or you go with, how you're feeling. That's how I've always operated. And I got a really good feeling about working with this person.
Okay.
I also feel like I had a lot of asks when I was a student, and I used a lot of mentors that we'll end up talking about in this discussion, I'm sure. But in general, it sounds cliche to say, well, I feel like giving back, but it's true. That's how I feel. And I want people to know ahead of time that I turn most down and that I don't have time to do a lot of mentoring. And a lot of times I don't have enough time to get my to-do list done. But I also feel like there needs to be a balance between taking and giving in your life. And this is definitely a place where I can give, and hopefully I can give this person what they need. I think there needs to be a good balance or a good matchup between the person you're mentoring. And so as I talk with this person, it's possible that I might help refer him to someone else, that I think I might ask someone else to take over or to do part of it if I feel like I'm the wrong person for him. Because I think, it's not everyone can.
What do you think in the connection is for why this one stood out? Is it the work matched well or the personality?
You know what it really was? What it really came down to was him saying he's in his late 40s. So he's not far from my age. And I really felt like, you don't like that?
Just giving you just a little age jab.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like, he needs extra help. He's got less time.
Yeah.
And I felt that, and also the way he asked, which I want to talk about, like in this.
I think that's valid. I mean,
podcast
because somebody who's 18 and taking a bunch of classes, they got a long time to figure stuff out, and then they've got the energy to try a million different things and then pick their path. You're right. I mean, somebody in their early 40s, mid 40s doesn't have that capacity. They're typically, their life's a little busier in terms of responsibility too, so they need to be a little bit more distinct in the decision making.
Yeah, for sure. So I have 10 things that I think you can get, that you should be looking to get from a mentor. But before I go into that, I just want to turn it to you guys. Did you guys have good mentors along the way?
Yes.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I tell you the one thing, if I can just wrap up my whole mentor experience into one thing. I mean, there's obviously a bunch of little stories and micro successes and stuff. But the one thing that I didn't get, that I try to give to my students, and the reason I want to explain why it's such a commitment, I think, for you to mentor somebody, is to do it right. I would have loved for somebody, a teacher, to come to me and say, let's start with what you want to accomplish. What do you want to do? What do you want to get out of this? And we'll start from that spot. Instead, I feel like a lot of teachers and instructors and classes I took, they started with where they are. And then they'd look at my work and say, oh, you need to add more contrast. Oh, you need to fix the perspective. Oh, you need to do, they're coming at it from their point of view instead of asking me where I want to go.
So you're saying, like, if someone wanted to be, for instance, I don't know, if someone wanted to do really dark work, and they came to a mentor that's doing children's books, the mentor might try to make them into them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Or just, give their gut check reaction on what an image is supposed to look like. I know there was an instance in the graduate school program I was in where somebody wanted to do really high key images. And so the images are all very much on the light side, and there was a reason for this. It backed what they were trying to say. And every time he showed it, they would say, oh, you got to use the full contrast. You got to use the full scale. And he's like, no, I don't really want to do that because of these reasons. And they'd say, it might be better if you just added a bunch of darks. I just kept coming back to that. And I just think that's weird. You start with where the person wants to go, and then you develop the map. And that's why it's such an interactive and personal, intimate kind of relationship, because you're driving, you're making decisions like, I would do this, but from what you're saying, maybe you should do this other thing, So
maybe that's like a first interview question. So if you're asking for a mentor, I would assume most students, including myself when I was young, wouldn't even have considered what you just said. that you might be asking the perfectly wrong person to mentor you because they aren't really in a mindset where they can even go step outside of themselves to
Right.
think about the student instead of, let me just tell you how to do it here.
Right. I'm the pro. You're the student.
Right.
You don't know what you're doing. I mean, if the first couple of questions out of your mentor's mouth aren't, what do you want to do in some, capacity, you might look elsewhere.
Okay.
The mentorships that I had, there was usually some sort of exchange. So they were benefiting from it somehow, and I was benefiting from it somehow, right? So that meant either I was working for the person, or I was paying the person to mentor me, right? So it wasn't that. I mean, outside of like school, that's what I'm talking about. So like one guy that I really look up to as a mentor over the years has been William Joyce, and our relationship started out. I was working for him. The studio I worked for partnered with him on some projects, and I was put on the team to work with him, and I was really into his style already and familiar with his work. And so to be able to work with him was like a really big highlight for me. But then all along the way, I got to like see his creative process, understand his creative decisions, see his work ethic and his application of skill and craft, things like that. I didn't learn specific like painting techniques, although I did learn some compositional stuff from him and how to lay out a picture and things like that, how to lay out an illustration. But nothing super stylistic. You wouldn't look at my style and think, oh, that's very Joycean or William, that's William Joyce's style. But that relationship wouldn't have happened had I doubt if I had knocked on his door and said, hey, I'm a big fan of yours. I really want to learn from you. Can we just carve out Friday afternoons? I come over to your place and you just teach me. Like, he's not gonna.
Right.
You should be very skeptical if someone's like, yeah, let's do that, right? But then what grew from that was an actual friendship, and that therein lies where I would say the majority of my mentorship has happened over the years, where I'm learning from friends who are either older than me, sometimes younger than me, a lot of times right in my same, within 5 or 10 years of my age. And I'm just learning what they're doing and feeding off of them and understanding them. And likewise, they're learning from me. So many times I'll get a call, hey, Jake, how did you do this one thing? So we'll talk about it. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll call them and be like, hey, how are you doing X, Y, Z? And they'll tell me their process or how they're thinking about it. And so that's been like a real benefit, is finding that network and having those like, I would say like lateral mentorships where we're kind of helping each other out and learning from each other.
That's great. My mentors were never official. I would never say, I mean, they were never official mentorships. I never would have even thought, I didn't even know the word. I don't think when I was in school, I got out of school and I panicked. And I knew I wanted to do freelance illustration, but I didn't know how. And so I started calling up my teachers. And this is when you could just, when you could call someone without scheduling a call,
Right.
and their phone would ring and they're like, who's this? And, and I would say, hey, this is, Will Terry. And, oh, hey, Will, and it was right after I'd had these teachers, and there were 3 in particular. And I basically said, can I come over and and ask, pick your brain for like, what do I do next? We never really talked about in school specifically what to do next, and I chose 3 teachers to really bug, and I started marketing my work. And every time I had a question, and when I started getting assignments, I would call them up and say, how much should I charge for this? They're asking this question, and how would you answer this? How would you handle this? And and I would go out to lunch with them. I offered to buy them lunch sometimes, not that they really needed it, but you know what I mean? Like I took the lead on really basically making them my mentors without asking, hey, will you mentor me? And to this day, we're friends. We became friends. We're, instead of student teacher relationship, it's colleague relationship now. But I think that now that I think that in the general zeitgeist, there's a lot more focus put on, well, have you had a mentor for artists? Well, and probably for every different occupational discipline, there are mentors that, so it's a very common idea now. But I want to talk about, like, how would you guys suggest, we have a lot of students at SVSLearn.com. How would you guys advise them finding a mentor? I want to talk about, would you advise paid mentorships, or would you advise them asking for free? Is there a difference? Is there an advantage one over the other? Let's talk about some of that.
I'd say money talks. I mean, it definitely, it doesn't have to be a ton of money, but it shows a certain amount of, when people put their dollars up, it means they're serious about whatever they're talking about. I've said that before about scholarships. If you win some award and somebody gives you money, that means they actually like your work, because there's dollars behind it. And it's the same way here. So, obviously, like you being a mentor, and us 3 both, well, I mean, all of us mentor people and we get a ton out of it. That's always good, but you can't assume that if you're a student and looking for a mentor, that's going to be the place that person's in. Like, they just want to help for free. So offering something, it doesn't even have to be financial. It could be like, do odd jobs around the studio, or to help you prepare canvases, or whatever it's going to be.
What do you think, Jake?
I think money talks. I think there is a way you can sort of weasel your way into a person's life for free.
Just kind of worm your way on in there.
Yeah. And I think you really have to, like, tread lightly and slow, right? So Lee, like, let's say someone emailed you, today and said, well, speaking of this, here's the email you don't send. Did you guys see that text I sent you
I want to
earlier?
look at it again.
Can you give the gist of it? Can you do you feel comfortable giving the gist of it?
Title of the email: Wanted, free drawing classes from Jake Parker anytime. And then the message is, please teach me 10 free classes. Please reply to my email. 10 free classes, right? So that's coming on real strong. Like that is scary to the person you're asking. That's going to take 10 classes. There's preparation time. There's
Do you think they were joking?
I think this is a person shooting their shot.
I wrote that to you just for the show, Jake.
Okay, good.
Just kidding. No, it's sad that it was probably real.
I get those from time to time. It looks like somebody, just not aware of proper etiquette, right? Like, you don't come on that strong. However, this person said, hey, here's a drawing. I drew the eyes funny. I don't quite understand the eyes. Like, Lee, let's say you got that email. Like, how would I draw these eyes better? You would open that. You'd be like, oh, shoot, I can do a draw over really quick.
Exactly.
Here's how you do the eyes better. Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you. Right. Maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, hey, here's my another drawing. Man, I am really struggling with hands. right? I'm pretty sure like if this happened for a year and they got, and it was just really simple, like, hey, what would you do in this situation? One question, not a long email, that you wouldn't even realize that you've become their mentor, and they're
Well,
and
can
they're
I
getting
add a component to that using that same example? If you were to do that, I'm having trouble with this eye. It's kind of funny looking. I do the draw over and I send it back. And a couple of days later, like within 3 days, you better email me back with the fixed drawing that you did and say, man, that worked. That was perfect. Thank you. And then back off, a little bit of silence, and then ask your next question. But if you're just asking questions without sending the result and some appreciation for the information, I mean, it always makes people feel good no matter what level they're at to just hear a thank you and, hey, that helped me. That's what we get out of it.
I mean, I get this a lot. It's help, Jake Parker. I've got an assignment due this weekend. I have to ask a professional illustrator 5 questions. Here's my 5 questions. If you could please just get this back to me in a couple hours, that'd be so awesome. Thank you so much. And so, you bend over backwards, you answer the questions. You never hear from them again. You don't get a thank you reply or nothing. They're on their way. That is the surest way for them to, never make it into your, your inner circle of trusted, people. Right.
Yeah. And if you compare the email that Will was talking about, which is a great one, with the one that you just talked about, where it says, please, please, please teach me 10 free classes. It's night and day how they approached the person as well. I mean, a good approach is, here's who I am, and here's why I like you, or why I'm writing you, and just make it look like they're familiar. But I get emails now. I think it's because of the texting generation. I sound like such an old man. There's these kids texting all the time. There's no. That doesn't even say hello. It'll just say, I need help.
Yeah.
I mean, it's straight into it.
When there's no investment, there's also no appreciation.
Also, you have no idea if that's a 10-year-old,
right?
Right.
And I've gotten those before where I just get this weird email where I'm like, golly, does this person did they never take email etiquette? And I'll engage it a little bit and come to find out, oh yeah, I'm 10 and my mom's letting me email for the first time.
Oh God.
So that's when I'm like, okay, you still got a long way to go,
Yeah. What I find interesting is that I have turned down, because we were talking about paid versus non-paid mentorships. I've turned down almost every one where someone's offered to pay me. And the ones that I typically take are the ones for free. And I think the reason is because then I don't have as much of an obligation.
Yeah.
So I told this person who wrote the letter, yes, I am going to be excited to mentor you. I don't know how quickly I can get back to you each time there's a request, but I will get back to you, and I will do it, and I will take it very seriously. But I can't give you an actual time commitment on how much time I'm going to spend. And so it's easier for me. So that's an aspect of it that I until I really thought about this as a podcast episode, I didn't really even analyze my own behavior in this, that I've turned down almost all the paid ones, because once you take money, there's this obligation that you have to deliver. And I wonder, is there also, does the money perhaps taint the advice that you're going to give? Like, would you give better and more honest advice if you're not getting money, and maybe?
I don't think so. I mean, last year I had the most official mentorship ever, in that I was one of the mentors for the Adobe software has an emerging artist program. And I was hired on to come on and mentor an artist for a year, full year. And I took it. It was, horribly underpaid for now that I know what that means. It's a huge commitment emotionally and time-wise and everything. But but no, I mean, what it helped me do is just take it really seriously. And the reason I said, or just thought to myself, I don't know if I'm going to do that again, was because every week, I mean, I really paid attention to what they were turning in and the work that they were doing. And they'd say, wait, you turned this in, but you said something different before. Why did the work change? You know, I'd have to look that closely and say, you know, and then redirect or say, okay, your goals are actually changing. Are you aware of that? You know, but you got to do a deep dive. It can't be like oh, I like this image, just keep moving forward. It was a really deep dive for an entire year, whole body of work. And so, and it was paid, and I was definitely on the hook. It was official. I couldn't just blow it off. But I gave it everything I had.
And that's a really good character trait that you have, Lee. That's one of the few compliments I'll give you.
Appreciate that.
No, you really do take it seriously. But I do wonder if other artists, I don't know, what do you think, Jake? Do you think that it's possible that people will give better advice if they're not being paid or better advice if they're paid?
I like that what you said, that you're like, I won't accept money. That way you're not, you know, it's stressful. You're not on the hook. Like, oh shoot, this guy's paying me $500 every month to be a mentor, and I'm guaranteeing him, you know, a certain amount of time each week. And, you know, life just got in the way and I wasn't able to do it this week. And, you know, like that is a level of stress that maybe you don't want in your life. But, that said, maybe if you are on the hook for that, you do provide a certain level of quality consistently that they might not get if they're not paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, in some instances, I'll take on an intern or an apprentice, or not really an apprentice, but like a assistant. And I basically told them like, hey, you have any questions with your art, you have any questions with a project you're working on, you need me to look at anything, let's put it on my schedule. You know what I need to you to do for me. And you tell me when you need me to do something for you, and we'll schedule that out, and we'll just carve out 30 minutes at the end of the day here and go over it or something like that. And I've had different assistants take me up on that more than others, some who never did it. And that wasn't the trade-off. I was paying them too. Outside of the internship, when they became the assistant, they started getting paid as well. But prior to that, it was, at the internship, it was very much like a trade. Like, I'll connect you to people. If you need connection to someone, you want to introduce to somebody, I'll make introductions. If you want me to look at your portfolio, if you want me to look at a piece, if you want me to help you with something, we'll do that. And that's always been like an open thing. And it's worked because they've been in the studio. There's time set aside every week for me to give them stuff to do, and me setting aside time for them if they need to do stuff for me. So I could see, I really do see the way you are as a mentor depends on your personality, your life circumstances, just what you're able to allow. And I think someone looking for a mentor needs to take that into account. From the outside, it might look like this person, has their act together. They have everything going for them. And why couldn't they squeeze you in, 10 minutes, a week or something like that. But just be, kind of attentive to that, and understand that not everybody's in a position to do something like that.
Yeah. I know two guys, and I don't know if they'd want me to use their names, so I'm not going to, but they probably would, but I don't know. Maybe they don't want more work. I don't know.
Safe than...
Yeah, they both do paid mentorships, and I know both of them have students that have just loved the attention they've given them.
Can you text me and just write who those people are? I want to know who.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah. But just knowing them personally, I know the type of people they are. But likewise, I've heard of a few where I've seen complaints on Twitter, I've seen complaints on Facebook of people that kind of took the money and didn't really provide a lot of. And that's something that's hard for me. I think one of the reasons why I typically probably won't do paid mentorships. I'm not going to say that definitively, but at least right now, up until now, the reason why I haven't is because I'm always second guessing the value that I'm giving for the money. You know what I mean? It's just, and it's just a constant second guess. Like, do they hate me because they feel like I took?
Well, the fact that you're worried about that shows that you're probably giving more than your value.
I would like to think so, but at the same time, I don't like that thought that someone's thinking they wasted their money on me.
I tell you this, when I was teaching in Portland, we had these, I had my 3 or 4 classes or whatever that I taught, and then I would always have a group of independent studies. So basically like a mentorship program over a term. And I would have probably, I'd say 50% of them would stop coming. Like the student wouldn't show up. I'd be in my office waiting. And I guess my point here is, if you're going to do this as a student, man, you can't look to the mentor to provide the direction. Basically, they should be a sounding board and ask you questions and then come up with a way to go. But a lot of them wouldn't put in the effort. They just wanted to show up and then have me direct them like it's a job and I'm an art director or something. And it's not really like that.
And I hate to say this because it's going to sound ageist kind of a thing, but one of the reasons why I took the guy in his 40s is I know he's just going to come with more life experience and he's going to be more grateful for the time, I think, in general. And I can say this because when I was in school, we had to it wasn't a mentor, but we had a class where we had to do a report on an illustrator. And I can tell you, almost every single one of us waited until the week it was due. And then we tried calling an artist, a professional artist, to get them to, and almost none of them responded to any of us. So we were all in class going, well, this is the artist that I chose, and this is about their work, but I never got to talk to them because they would never return my call. Well, we called them that week,
Right.
We didn't give them any chance to, and that seems to be kind of how younger people are, because they don't know what to value yet. They haven't lived life enough to.
A lot of artists have started putting those Q&As on their website. I know like Yuko Shimizu did that because she gets that same assignment every year. It's a certain week in spring and a certain week in fall where all of a sudden 50 people emailing you. And so she put out just a page on her website, like, here's the stuff you're going to ask. Like, what's my history? How do I do a project? All that kind of stuff. And which is smart.
I have FAQs that I send out.
So what's going to happen when people hear this episode? Is there going to be like, 1,000 people trying to get mentorships, and that's going to put the professionals in sort of an awkward place?
Maybe. I mean, as far as that assignment where they have to do a report, I have the same thing. Over the years, I've taken all their questions, reduced them down to the same ones, generated FAQs, and on the outside chance that somebody asks a interestingly good question that I haven't heard before, I add it to that list. So when someone sends me their questions, I go, here's my list of questions answered. If you have any questions that aren't answered, send me that one. And they never do. They just take what I give them. But so for mentorships.
Wait, before you go there, I haven't gotten one of those emails in a while. Am I washed out? Like,
you're done, Jake.
Not going to say anything.
We didn't want to tell you.
I am like enjoying. I have a pretty extensive FAQ.
Maybe that's it.
But I also noticed on Twitter there's been like a cultural shift. Like a lot of people saying, "Hey, professors or teachers, this is a crappy assignment. Like, don't
Leave it to
give
Twitter.
this assignment."
But why is that I'm going to push back. Why is that a crappy assignment?
I'll tell you why.
Uh-oh.
You know why, Will.
Uh-oh.
When was that assignment first conceived?
Sometime in the
70s,
80s,
probably.
70s.
In the 80s, probably, right?
Yeah.
And how hard was it to find out about an illustrator in the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, that's okay. So it's dated. Yeah, good point.
So
I'll give you that.
Now you have way, like all you have to do is watch 5 of my YouTube videos and follow my Twitter account, and you've got more information than you've had on any illustrator in the 80s,
Right.
right?
True.
More contact with them. So I think you the updated assignment should be,
Find a
watch
mentor.
10 YouTube videos of your favorite artist, or go look at 50 of their posts and just kind of get an idea of who this is and see if you can figure out, go to their website, see if you can figure out all these answers on your own. And whatever you can't find, after a certain amount of, a
Now
weekend of
that
work.
would be a good way to approach an illustrator. Like if somebody wrote me and said, I watched, all 50 hours of your teaching videos and saw your Instagram page and your website and your YouTube page, and there's something I still don't understand, and here it is, man, I would be into that question because I'd love to see, like, what did I leave off of all that? Like, how is there something missing there? But maybe there is.
And that is, I'm going to add to the weasel approach. Can I call it that? The worm?
The weasel worm.
The weasel worm. So I'm thinking there's a couple of people who, when they send me an email and ask for advice, I'll give them advice. There's a handful of them, and these are people that are either have been currently or have been an assistant of mine. Someone who has taken a live class from me at one of the live classes I've done. Someone who's taken an online live class from me, right? So in person and online. Or someone who is like a patron who's currently supporting me on Patreon. And all of those people, this shows me that they're putting forth effort to get what I'm not freely, but what I'm publicly offering. So I'm out here saying, I can't teach everybody. So here's the way I'm going to teach people. I'm going to do the YouTube videos. I'm going to do these online classes. I'm going to offer a Patreon. You pay $5 a month and you get to see behind the scenes on everything that I'm working on, even stuff I'm not posting publicly. And, or you're going to, stars are going to align somehow that you can actually work for me as an assistant. And those people that are cognizant enough and aware enough of those sort of things are going to have a better chance of getting my attention than someone who's scrolling Instagram. Oh, this guy's a good artist. I should contact him and see if he's available for 10 free classes.
Well, you probably already know that a lot of the work is done. You can start further along because
Exactly.
they're already on the same wavelength. So
right.
Yeah.
And the questions usually are, hey, you mentioned this in this video, or you mentioned this in this course that I took, and I've been struggling with this aspect of it. Can you just give me a hand here? What do you think of this?
I should add, if there's any pros listening to this who are on the mentor side and you want to stop getting just random emails, start doing better videos where you actually talk about the products that you're using. I don't know if you guys get these questions a lot, but it's somebody who says, oh, I'm going to do a painting today. Oh, here's a bunch of paint that's already on my palette. I'll start with that. Well, then the first question you get is, what are all those paints that you used? Or just just throwing just random stuff out there. Just say the stuff that you're using. Assume that people don't understand it and don't know what you're doing. And people care about the brand names of stuff. I made the mistake of putting, start with a watercolor. I'll run it through my printer just to have my sketch down. Man, I've been asked, I swear 100 times what kind of printer it is. It's an Epson P800 printer.
Do you have a tools page on your website?
I did. I don't know if it's there now. I probably need to put that back up there. But yeah, I do, and it's very specific on all the stuff that I found that works, and I talk about why that it works. Sometimes things don't matter. Like you can use any paper for this technique, and I'll say that too.
Yeah.
But just be specific.
Right, and I'm a huge believer in that tools do matter, because a lot of times people, that's sort of the thing, it doesn't matter what pen you use. Oh, it doesn't matter. Find what works for you. Yes, I'm working on that. I'm trying to figure out what works for me. And I want to start by seeing what pen it is that you're using, because I like that effect that you're
Yeah.
getting.
Go to the art store and look how many pens you can choose from. It's you
Yeah.
want that specific thing.
So I've always been really open, like, oh, this is the pen I'm using. I have a page on my website. You go there, there's a list of tools. And if you're in a position where people do care what kind of tools you use, go get an Amazon like affiliate account and just send a link from people from your website to Amazon and just get a little kickback. Because there's like a 7 or 15% of every purchase you make, you make
I
the
gotta
money off of
update my
that.
page.
So,
I've just clicked on my website and I don't have my tools page up. I redesigned my website and I don't have it. I will put that up.
You are going to get complaints.
I
You're going to get a
know.
lot of questions.
It'll be up by the time this thing airs.
yeah.
Hey, so in keeping with time, because I got some more stuff to get through here, but one of the things that I wrote down here was kind of my approach now on how, if I were looking for a mentor, how I would do it.
Okay.
The email would sound something like this, and
Let's hear it. This is the template.
This is the template.
Okay.
And maybe we'll put this in the show notes. So first, I would come with humility, and I haven't written this actually out into a letter, but I have it.
Do you use dear, hey, hi, or just their name?
That's a good question. Whatever it is, you need to come with humility. Not, I need 10 free classes from you. Like that's not humble. I know that you're probably too busy to do this is a good line to put in there early on. That line was in this guy's letter. And what that does to me is it says there's an understanding there. I understand that you might say no, and you're making it safe for the person you're asking to say no.
Good point.
And that's appreciated, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know your work, and here's what I love about it. So that's going with what you were saying, Jake, with, they've watched your videos and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I've been following your career for blank amount of time. I think you would be perfect to mentor me because, in other words, I've already done the thinking. You're the guy or you're the gal. And here's why. I cannot pay you what your time is worth / or pay you at all. But I'm hoping you can spend a little time with me to help a fellow artist. So you're also saying, look, I know that your time is worth a lot. You've spent, decades perfecting your craft. All of that comes with, there's lawyers get accused of charging exorbitant amounts, but the reason they get $300 or $400 or $500 an hour is because they've put in so much time and effort and money into building their career. Well, the same is true for artists, right? We might not be as smart as attorneys, right? But we put in a lot of time.
I do know my attorney makes way more an hour than I do.
Right. And so I think saying that helps that person you're asking to be a mentor understand that you get it. I'm willing to take and be extremely grateful for whatever you can give me. I'm willing to, I'm not the one setting the parameters of this relationship. You are. I'm hoping you can answer a few questions that I cannot get answers to elsewhere. I cannot find these answers. That's where you come in. And I'm hoping you might be able to critique a piece or two of mine. Things like that, where it's, and it really is, it does have a lot to do with tone. I had someone once tell me, look, I know your time's valuable. That's why I'm going to give you X amount of money. And I just want to buy your time. And I turned it down. I was busy with other work, and I looked at it as just as another job. There wasn't anything written in the email that made me feel like the person even knew who I was beyond just a person that they could buy time from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of that, can I tell a side story?
Go for it.
Wait, are you done with your email?
Yeah, with that part. Yeah. So that's basically, those are the kinds of things that I would include in an email.
You know what? story has nothing to do with this. It's just funny. So I'll
Okay.
pass. We'll stay on topic. This is me trying to herd our cat selves. Like trying to.
No, you got to tell it now. You can't
No,
tease us.
it's tangential to it. Fine. You ready
Now
for this?
you've already thrown it out there.
Yeah.
Okay, sitting in church on Sunday, and the person speaking is telling a story about this father who's super busy all the time. And the kid's like, Dad, can we play catch? Dad's like, I just don't have time right now. I'm so busy with work. We'll save it for later. And the kid's like, fine. He comes back later, a couple days later. Dad, now, how about now? Can we play catch? Please, can we play catch? And Dad's like, listen, I'd love to. I really would love to right now, but I'm so busy with work. I can't. This goes on and on. Finally, a kid's like, Dad, how much do you get paid an hour? Dad's like, oh, I get paid $50 an hour. And he's like, oh, doesn't see the kid for like 3 weeks. Kid comes back. He's like, Dad, I've been working. I've been doing chores. I've been selling lemonade. I've been sweeping porches. I've got $25. Can I please have in half an hour of your time? And I'm sitting there thinking like, ooh, do I do that to my kids? Bzz, I feel a buzz on my phone. It's my kid. And he says, Dad, how much do you charge an hour?
Are you serious?
No way.
Yeah. He's texting me. It's my teenager. He's just being a doofus. But I thought that was hilarious. I told him I charge one really good laugh and a cookie. So
Very Norman Rockwell response.
He has not made me laugh, nor have I gotten a cookie. So he's not getting answer my time.
No catch for you.
No, but I like your email. I actually have my email template. You ready for this?
Oh, give it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay, so mine is the win-win proposition approach, right? So you offer to do something for them. You don't just say you're available if they need anything. So you don't say, hey, I'd love to give back to you. I'm available. Just call me up, because that puts the pressure back up on them for them to think of something for you. So instead, this is what you do. You say, hi, pro artist. I'm a huge fan and I love your work. I noticed you, this is just an example, but I've noticed you only post on Instagram twice a week, and that the Instagram algorithm, it actually favors accounts that post daily. So I think you can actually grow your audience even more if you posted more. And I see that on your website, you have a backlog of portfolio work that hasn't ever been posted on your Instagram account. So would it be helpful if I downloaded that artwork, formatted it to fit an Instagram post, and then you just had an archive of stuff that you could post on Instagram, right? I'd be happy to help you out. Okay. And then if you got that email, what would you say, Will, to that person?
How could I say no?
How could you say no to that, right? And you're gonna have to be creative. Like, you could take that idea. There's 100 other things that professional illustrators don't have time to do that you might have time to do. Like, if someone were to email me and say, I've noticed you use your Twitter likes not as stuff that you like, but as sort of like you're bookmarking cool art. Like, I noticed you use it as a bookmark for cool art. Would it be helpful if I downloaded all that and put it in a folder, and you just had that like offline that you could search through easier than scrolling through Twitter? If someone came to me like that, I'd be like, heck yeah, do that. Okay, so now they're doing it. Now you kind of owe them. Like, even if they said, you don't owe me anything, I'm doing this because I'm a fan, I love you. You're thinking, oh man, I really owe this person. They helped me out. Email 2 comes in and it says, hey, I have a problem with X. I'm wondering, and I think you're just the right person to solve it. Here's 3 solutions I've already come up with. Which one of these would you pick? So it's like, hey, I'm really having a hard time drawing, like, we'll go back to eyes. I'm having a hard time drawing eyes. And here's what I'm thinking. Do I like draw from life? Do I copy stylized eyes and copy that? Or do I come up with my own style of eyes? Like, what do I do? You get that back. You have so much less work to do than teach me how to draw eyes. All you got to say is like, pick one of the 3. And naturally if you have time, you're going to go into it a little bit deeper. You might even say, send me one of your drawings, or maybe in that email you say, here's an example of one of my eye drawings. So it's totally coming from this angle of, I want to be helpful to you. I want to be helpful to you. And I guess that's the worm method is you're making it so that your future mentor can't live without you. Right.
Yeah.
Like they realize they need you as much as you need them. So, then the third part, as Lee said, is once they do help you, you return a week later, or a couple days later. Hey, here's everything you told me to do, and here's what I did, and I just want to thank you. You've helped me out a ton. Okay, so now you've had, in the exchange of basically 3 emails, and it's probably taken a month. You have gotten this future mentor like on your side, to where if you come back with another question, short one, they'll help you. And then if it seems to be working, if there's a friendship forming there, then you could say, hey, can we work out something? Can we do something a little bit more formal? Maybe you could take it to the next level. But I want you to think of it as like almost like you're dating someone. Like the best relationships, grow out of something genuine and not, and that's really what a mentorship is. Intimate, and there's time involved. There's advice traveling back and forth, and so it should be treated with the amount of
you've got to be smart at asking.
It deserves.
Yeah.
The student has to be smart at asking. I get questions. I can remember one right now where it was like, I need you to teach me how to market my children's book. And it's like, I could make a series of 10 YouTube videos on marketing your children's book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where do you start?
So when you ask a question that has an answer that's a semester long, you know what I mean? You can't, you're not doing your due diligence as a student to actually put yourself in the mentor's position when they get the question that you're asking.
Yeah,
So
those questions, the questions that are fun for mentors to answer are at least in my case, are really specific and geared toward you. Like if somebody wrote me and said, like you're saying, well, semester long thing, how do I paint in watercolor? I can't answer that question. But if somebody says, like, I tried to do a gradient wash in watercolor, there's a million YouTube videos on how to do a gradient wash. But if you try one, it's actually really hard. And there's all these I don't know why when people do demos, they don't show it. Like, here's what could happen when it goes wrong. Because they always show the perfect one, right?
Right.
But I love it when people write that. Like, I tried to do the gradient wash. Here's 3 YouTube videos that showed them doing it. But here's this like splotchy mess that I made. How do I fix that? Man, that's the one where I'm like, oh, cool. I love answering that question because it's so specific, and I struggled with the same thing. And here's 3 ways to do the gradient wash that's smooth, and off you go. And then that, like Jake said, that starts the relationship going.
And if you ask someone with a YouTube channel, they might just make a video answering your question. Yeah. All right. So I have 10 reasons why you can benefit from having a mentor. I'm just going to go through these really quick. And if you guys want to stop and interrupt me and say, when you have an anecdote or something to throw in there, please do. So 1, you can gain, and some of these are going to be obvious. You can gain information and knowledge. 2, a mentor can give you vision for your personal improvement, i.e. the critique, right? 3, they can stimulate your personal and professional growth. So a mentor can ask questions that you would never have thought of on your own.
Right.
They can ask you questions about your career or what you want, kind of what you were talking about earlier, Lee, is, well, where are you trying to go? Number 4, they can encourage us and help us keep us going. So and that's something that I take on personally. That's a natural thing for me is I'm more of a coach. When I mentor someone, I like to think of myself as a positive person, and that I give to other students, like, you can do it. 5, mentors can be disciplinarians. They can create necessary boundaries that you can't set for yourselves. And I think that's important. They might, a good mentor, I think, is going to be someone that's going to hold you to the goals that you've set. or might even set goals with you and be the person who says, look, I'm not going to continue to mentor you if you're not going to, turn in your assignments on time or
Right.
do what you said you wanted to do. 6, they can be sounding boards. So you as the mentee can bounce your ideas off of them. And, for an unfiltered opinion I remember when I have a couple of examples of that. I was trying to trade stocks 10 years ago, and I had a really close friend who was into day trading, and he said, I give you a 3 to 5% chance of success. I'm like, the 3 to 5%? What the heck? You don't trust me more than that? And he's like, no, the reason I'm giving you 3 to 5% is because of you're a dynamic person in these different reasons. And I would give a lot of people less than that. And it really hurt my feelings at the time, but he was totally right. And I told him so later on, and luckily I didn't, I pushed in my account. I didn't lose any money, but my gains and losses added up to about 0. So you need a mentor to give you that honest, unfiltered opinion.
Did you follow up with him and say, thanks for saying that to me?
Oh yeah. Well, it was Norm. We're really close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Number 7, mentors are trusted advisors. So, you need someone that you can trust. And I think that we've been talking a lot about that in this whole thing, in the fact that it's in the choice that you make on who you're asking to mentor you. There should already be some trust based on the homework you've done into their career. And you want to be told the hard truth, even if it's not something that you want to hear, because it really can save you. Number 8, mentors can be connectors. So I've gotten a lot of work from some of my mentors who didn't have time to do a job for a specific client, and they suggested me. Or for one, I can think of Rob Colvin. He gave me a long list of magazines he thought I should approach. And this was back when I did a lot of editorial work, and I got a lot of work from some of his same clients. So he connected me to those clients. Number 9, mentors can shortcut you. So they can prevent you from making some of the same mistakes they did. So if you tell them what you're thinking about doing, what's your plan of action, what you're going to do, they might say, well, you might rethink that. Here's what happened when I tried that.
Yeah, like if someone's like, Will, I need feedback on my app, Storybook app. Can you?
That one hurts. Don't pick on that one. That hurts too much. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
don't you wish you had a mentor that would have said to you?
Well, I did. I just didn't want to listen. So I had several people tell me.
Episode 2, how to listen to your mentor.
How to listen, yeah. Yeah. So, and the 10th one is, and we've already talked about this, mentors are often free, and that makes them priceless in more ways than one. I don't think there's a definitive mentors are better if they're free or if they're paid. I think it's more, like I said, I have a couple of friends that I know do a really good job, and so then they charge. So
Yeah.
I got a weasel worm technique like Jake for getting to your mentor.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really talked about it. There's the kind of the halfway point of where it's, we're talking about the formal one where you send the email and all of a sudden there's this official mentor, student kind of relationship.
Yeah.
But the weasel worm one that I would use is there has to be somebody who's doing what you, the student, wants to do, that is teaching. If you sign up for somebody's class, that is the easiest weasel worm because you're already in class with them. You're doing whatever, they're teaching a still life class. Don't even worry about that. Go do the still life. And then after class, hey, here's some other stuff I'm working on. Can you take a look? Because they're sort of already obligated in the teacher mode right there. And I've had a lot of students do that where we'll stay after class an hour and talk about stuff because we're already in the zone. It's not free, but it's also not going to be a ton of money either. Just take it. If you can find them teaching a class, that is the easiest in that I can think of.
Yep.
I'm going. What should the podcast illustration for this episode be? Should it be like a red rabbit, and he's getting X-rays, and there's just a bunch of like tapeworms in the belly? I went way too far with that one.
Whoa.
Sorry, guys.
It should be the little red rabbit and the mentor who's bigger walking into the sunset, with the arm around.
I think I'll do you one better. Okay. It's going to be an old red rabbit, and the young red rabbit's going to be on like a post Karate Kid style, one leg up, with like the crane
Not
style
bad.
sunset in the background.
You saved your art direction skills with that from the tapeworm rabbit to the Karate Kid rabbit.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah.
Now the old rabbit has to be hunched over and decrepit, though.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So if you're a mentor, you're old and shriveled.
Exactly.
You're on your way out.
By the way, you guys should check out our covers. If you haven't seen the covers for all of our podcasts, you should go check them out, because we do have our contest winners illustrating each one of these, which is really neat.
Yeah. And where can they see those?
SVSLearn.com. Click on podcast on there. Maybe we just take a minute. Are we done talking about mentors?
Yeah.
Let's just take a minute.
Wait, do you guys feel like we hit it?
This is a good episode. I was going to ask, is this from your book? Is this a chapter from your book?
Negative.
Well,
but I do talk about mentors in there.
Oh, okay.
So part of it is, sure.
So this is kind of stuff, when you get Will Terry's book, you're going to get this kind of information, only better.
I guess the one thing we didn't really talk about is how long it might take. And I'm glad we're talking about kind of how to do half versions and how to weasel into it, because if you send out illustrators by nature are a very, very busy group of people. And I think if now all of a sudden 1,000 people think that they're going to get a one-on-one relationship, there's going to be 995 of those people that are disappointed. So we just got to think about
I think the best success you're going to have is keeping it personal. If I were doing it, I would probably write up. I would try one at a time, and I would write to specific people, and I would be honest. And they better be people that you've researched, people that you've been a fan of for a while, because there has to be a personal connection.
Yeah,
for the illustrator to agree to it. I think
your getting a mentor strategy should also be like, okay, I've got my like rock star person that I want to get in with, right? So for me, it would be like Mike Mignola. I love how you did Hellboy. I love everything about comics. There's no way I'm gonna like connect with them unless, I don't know. I'm figuring out my own weasel technique with that one. It's slowly but surely happening. Anyways, so there's your rock star one. Then there's going to be like, pick someone who's maybe 10 years ahead of you. Pick someone who's maybe 5 years ahead of you, or just a couple years ahead of you. And then find some mentors, and I'm using that word loosely. Basically, find some friends
peers,
who you really like what they're doing, and build that network. And they're going to give you information that they've learned. You're going to give them information that you've learned. But find people who are on your level, a little bit above, and I think the farther out you go from there, the less people you'll be able to really get a hold of. But you'll have a well-rounded like education coming from these people.
Do you guys find, like I find that with the requests that I get, and they're not all mentors, but they're different requests. Can you take a look at this? I'm finally done with this project. Can you critique it for me? I find that with my list of things to do, my obligations with the different companies that I'm working with, including SVSLearn, the podcast, YouTube, my freelance, with everything, work-life balance, my wife, service in my church, everything.
Kids?
Well, not anymore. They're out on their own. But I find, for you, that's true. But I find that I look at these requests and I go, I wish I had, more multiplicity type guys that could, of myself, from the Michael Keatons, that could, I could do more, because I look at these requests and every single one of them, I'm like, oh, I really want to do that.
Yeah.
but I can't most of the time, and it's sad.
I tell you, man, I think about that all the time. Like if there were two of me, oh my gosh, unstoppable. But then I'd commit to twice as much, and the second guy would be
Exactly.
like,
Which
"We need a
one would
third
be
one,
out on the
Jake."
golf course? Would you be on the golf course, or would you be with your wife?
I don't know how to golf, but I get what you're saying. Like,
Uh-huh.
you know, who would be the one watching Godzilla movies? So I would. Man, that's a tough one. Would I be the one? I'd be the one with my wife. I'd have him watch the Godzilla movies.
Would you have
Smart
the
answer.
Would you have the rule that the other Jake Parkers don't get to sleep with your wife?
Oh man! All right, let's call it.
Well, that was in the movie. I'm just, remember that was like rule number 1. Remember that?
What movie
That
is
is-
this? What
called
20-year-old movie is this?
Multiplicity. You guys should watch it. It's a good movie.
Definitely, that is rule number 1. Well, Terry, that's for sure.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I will say this though. Can you please watch some movies from the last decade?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're reaching so far back. Will text me and Jake with a movie quote from 1981. He's like, "Hey, you guys remember that?" Like, no,
Caddyshack, right? Caddyshack. You guys saw Caddyshack?
Wow.
Like, well, I have
like
not
Close
seen
Encounters
Caddyshack.
from the Third Kind. You
30
saw it,
years.
right?
That can't be more than 10 years old.
So just to give you, here's a frame of reference. You're going to be blown away when I tell you this. Inception is 10 years old.
Yeah, so Lee, no more quoting Inception.
So no, what I'm saying is,
I'm a 2-year window.
if you're still
I quote
thinking Inception's a new movie, it's a decade old. And I watched it recently. I was like, oh, those suits are a little outdated, just a hair outdated. Anyways,
It changes quickly.
I want to talk about Critique Arena.
Okay,
You
do
mentioned
it.
the podcast thing. So here's how it works.
Wait, we're
You
done.
go-
So we're switching gears.
Yeah, I think we
We're wrapping
put
up.
this mentor
To bed.
thing in the bed.
Okay.
All right.
Critique Arena.
The Critique Arena, it
What is
happens once a month. And here's what it is. Every month we put out a prompt. And sometimes they're as different as like this month it's draw a dragonfly, like do something inspired by dragonflies. The previous month I did, here's a real assignment you would get from an art director. Let's pretend an art director's reached out to you and asked you, we're going to republish Wizard of Oz. We want a fresh new look for it. Here's the dimensions for the cover. Please design us a new Wizard of Oz cover, right?
The one before that was the best one we've had so far, and that was mine.
I wouldn't say the best. It was okay. It was
It
okay.
pretty much
Marginal.
Pretty much the most amazing one.
What-
And that was
what
to
was that
illustrate to illustrate an actual story.
Yeah.
Something useful.
Yeah. So Will
So there's
submitted a children's book manuscript and had everyone draw a page from it, right? Just pick a spread
Yeah.
to draw from it.
Yeah.
And then other ones, it'll be like, just a almost like a page from a children's book, and you have to illustrate it from it, right? So every week every month there's one prompt. You have an entire month to work on it. If you are subscribed to SVSLearn, then you have a chance for the illustration that you made be included in Critique Arena. And so Critique Arena last month we had 100 Wizard of Oz covers. What Will, Lee, and we go in and we pick the top 16, the 16 best ones, and those are our finalists. And they get to move into Critique Arena, and they're put in a bracket. So you have 8 images on one side, 8 images on the other side, and they're all paired against each other. And then all of the subscribers who come to the webinar, the Critique Arena webinar, they actually get to vote on which cover they think is best, or which illustration is best. So we'll put 2 against each other. We'll each say one thing we like about it, and then we put the
One thing
vote
we
to.
don't like about it.
No, we decide we're just going to do one thing we like about it. We're standardizing.
I might
We've kind of
sneak
gone back and
some
forth.
critiques in there.
But here's how it works. We say one thing we like about it, just so we don't sway the votes too much. And then a poll comes up, and you get to vote for which one you like better. This happens until we've whittled it down to 2 winning illustrations. Meanwhile, the ones that lose the vote, they get a critique. So we say one thing, we would have fixed it that maybe would have helped it win or something
so
like that.
all of them do get critiqued.
Right.
And one of the cool things about Zoom is that you could put that poll right up on. So if you're watching on the Zoom meeting, you get to vote.
Yep. And so the polling is for subscribers. Being in Critique Arena is for subscribers. You can do the prompt and post it on the forum. That's completely free to participate in. So then we picked 2 winners. We got 2 winners. And then those people, we hired them to do the podcast illustration for the upcoming 2 episodes for that month. And that's how we've been getting all these cool episode art. If you go on the podcast tab on SVSLearn.com, what's been great about that is these people now have a portfolio piece. They have a lot of these times that they're like, this is my first paying job. It's not a huge paying job, I should add, but we do pay you. But essentially you can use that image for whatever you want to use for portfolio purposes. Even people who lose Critique Arena still are like, oh, this is awesome. I have a piece that I can put in my portfolio. And so it's just our way of getting people motivated to do more art and making it fun and having it be a cool thing. So just check that out. If you join the SVS Learn email list, you'll be notified when and where Critique Arena happens. You can watch it on Facebook Live, or if you're a member of SVS Learn, you can watch it live on the webinar. So there's my pitch for Critique Arena. Should we take it out? You guys have anything else you want to add?
No,
That was great.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. 3-Point Perspective is made possible by SVSLearn.com, where becoming a great illustrator starts. And today your hosts have been Will Terry, Lee White, and I'm Jake Parker. So Will Terry, he can be found, his online portfolio is willterry.com. You can follow him on Instagram at willterryart. Lee White, you can find his online portfolio at leewhiteillustration.com. And you can follow him on Instagram on leewhiteillo. And me, Jake Parker, go ahead and go to mrjakeparker.com to see just an amazing website with tons of cool art. You can sign up for my newsletter there. Oh man, I cannot tell you how cool it is to go to that website. And then my Instagram account is at Jake Parker. Podcast is produced by Daniel Tu. That's danieltu.co if you want to go to his website. And we appreciate all the work that's going into that. Podcast is shared online by Lisa Fott. It's grateful for all that she does to help keep SVS humming. If you like this episode on mentors and you think either you or somebody you know needs this advice that we've given here, pass it on, share it around. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. The majority of our subscribers are on Apple Podcasts, and so we appreciate that. And if you are on there, please leave a review. We love to hear what you think. We read those reviews. Sometimes we actually listen to what they say if there is criticism. And lastly, this discussion, we've posted about it on the svslearn.com forums. So if you want to join in on this discussion, you have something to add, or you take criticism with something we've said today, go ahead and share it on the forums there in that thread. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. I think that's it, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next time.